All right, we're back for some more World Cup, some more content, as much as I can milk out of the World Cup as possible. This time, so last time I did predictions on the group stages. I don't know how that's turned out so far because we literally only, at the time of recording this, the first game has just started, so I'm not entirely sure how that's all going to play out yet. I'll find out later in another video when I'm predicting the actual knockout stages. I'd argue this video is more important because this is like more final stuff. Like, this is you guys actually getting a better idea of what I really think, how I really think the World Cup's going to play out, because the group stage only goes up until it's done, and then from there, you know, then you have to make some pretty big claims. This is kind of like the middle portion where I'm sort of making big claims but not really. So I'm going to rank these based on where I think the likelihood is. I'm going to preface that it really doesn't. Okay, the top 5 on this list are going to be kind of interchangeable. I know that's a cop-out, but like, how am I really going to say, oh, this one country has like 100% chance of making it through? So, I mean, it's a cop-out, but you guys understand why I'm doing it. Like, I just can't, like, the first 5, I think it's fair. The first 5, I think it's 100% fair to kind of look at it as like, okay, there's like prediction, like I'm predicting like this will make it, this won't make it. But from there, I think it gets a little shaky. It gets a little shaky. I'd actually say maybe like top 6 maybe could even be counted, but I don't want to push it farther than it needs to. I also feel like this video might be a little long. I'm going to try to make it short. But I know if I make it short, I'm going to have people in the comments be like, oh, why do you think this? Yada, yada, yada. And then it's like, I could have explained myself, but then we'd have an hour-long video. And I don't want that. I just feel like that's overkill. It's not that serious. Like, it is what it is. So, before I start, I'm just going to give quick 2 honorable mentions. One I have to explain, the other one I don't need to really explain why I'm putting it there. The first one that I'll explain is Senegal. I think Senegal deserves to get an honorable mention. Now, if you saw my my group stage predictions, you know I thought that Senegal wasn't going to make it through the group stage. I thought Ecuador would. Ecuador is not on this list, spoiler alert. But the reason why I say Senegal should be an honorable mention, these honorable mentions are like countries you should consider, but I don't think are really going to do much in terms of like a huge mark into how far they're going to get up the ladder. There's an asterisk with Senegal. The reason why I didn't put him out of the group stage, Mane's not playing. So I didn't really go into Senegal that much. I kind of feel bad rewatching it. Like, I didn't really go into why I didn't like take Senegal out of the group stage for that, for Group A. Group A to me is the toughest group to really figure out what's going to happen. That, or which group is the one with America, Iran, and England? That one's kind of a little tricky too. Depends on how consistent America are going to be. But yeah, Senegal, it's just because of Mane. It's a really weird thing. I know Koulibaly's in there. He's getting a little old, though, and then they have Mendy. It's cool. I get it. I 100% get it. I understand the context with these teams. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is a good example of I understand the context, but I might not go into it that much. Just know these are where I put the numbers. If you have your own list and you want to argue with it, I can put it down you can put it down in the comments, and I'll bring in more context, because I do know stuff about these teams. It's just, like I said, if I kept talking about everything about it, it'd be an hour long. And I don't want this video to be that long. So Senegal should be an honorable mention. If some magic happens and Mane is fine and they're playing and stuff, they'll make it out of the group stage. And I think they're contenders, sure. The second honorable mention is Canada. I'm Canadian. Obviously, I'm going to put them on somewhere in the list. They're not actually on the list. And there's actually logistics behind why I put them on honorable mention, like, as Canada, besides just I'm Canadian. Their performance against Mexico and America makes me think that they're better than both of them, because they've consistently beat them in terms of their own, what's it called, their own like district, like the North American district. Like, they've been clearly up top. So for me, I don't think they're good enough to be top 10, to be 100% honest, because I think the team lacks a little bit of depth. I know the players inside and out. you guys don't care, so I'm not really going into it. But we have Davies. We have Davies. There we go. Davies, David. I want to say Alfonso and David. But aside from that, it doesn't get too deep, and you'll see as we go on. Deep, like depth and history, like consistency, is what matters for me. Hold on, let me get the mic real close. Depth and consistency is what matters here. Like how well has this team been performing in the past, and how many players can they work with? So yeah, these two aren't going to make it for obvious reasons. They just, I don't think they lack. I think they lack depth, and but they should be considered. These two are teams that I'd say, like, if you have luck, they could get pretty far. But I think there is just not a lot of opportunity for luck. There is and there isn't. So anyways, getting onto the actual list, we're going to start with Denmark. Denmark I have as number 10. Like I said, once you get to top 6, top 5, it's not a huge thing to consider. Denmark's just, it's a well-built, structured team. I don't think anywhere they're too shallow. Maybe on the offense they're a little shallow. Actually on the offense they're kind of shallow. But they're just they're a well working unit. They're a well working unit, so I think they'll do pretty well. Schmeichel, I mean Eriksson, you got pieces. You got pieces there, Jensen. There's just overall they got the numbers to kind of do something. I think consistent there. But outside of Denmark, number 9 I have is Spain. You see, I'm gonna go really fast here, but guys, I want this to be 15 minutes. All right, I'm sorry if I'm not really explaining too much, but Spain I have above Denmark because I think I'd argue they have more depth on all their positions, but I think they're very heavy on the defense. But their defense also has some age to them, so I'm not going to put them higher. But they're definitely better than Denmark in terms of their chances, for me anyways. But actually, I could see some people arguing that because they could say, well, Denmark actually could have youth on their side and more consistency with their players. But Spain also does have some youth coming in. Maybe not so much if you look at Busquets, Carvajal, Alaba, not Alaba, sorry, Alba, Jordi Alba. They're all kind of aged. I can never say his name. Aslabaqueta. You know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean they just it's age. It's age, and also I feel like their defense is really they're very bottom heavy, and yeah, they have Fati and stuff, but I'm going to put them here. I feel comfortable about this spot, kind of. On top of them, on number 8, we have Belgium. Belgium used to be higher for me, but because of how some of their stars have been kind of working now as late, and I understand players for their club play differently than for their nation. That's a whole different thing. So Hazard, Lukaku is the big thing. Lukaku, I know some people are going to be like, no, watch. Well, Lukaku might do some things. But Lukaku's been fine. He's been fine. I just feel like Hazard especially makes me very curious as to how that's going to play out. It's been a while, and based on their performance with the Euros, I think this is a good spot to put him at, which is 8. I'm fine with 8. On top of that, I have 7th, which is Uruguay. Now, Uruguay, I know, is kind of some people are like, oh, because Nunez is there. They're getting really hyper about it. But if you actually look at the squad, I think there's some things like Torreira and stuff. Okay, you have some pieces in the back line, but I think it's just not strong enough where I think I would put them above. I said I think a lot, way too much. But I wouldn't put them higher than this, I think. There I go again. I just wouldn't put them higher than this for me. It just wouldn't make sense. So I'm fine with putting them here, which I think is 10, 9, 8, 7. 7th. Sorry, I'm going to lose track of numbers here. I'm trying to make sure I don't do that. On top of that, you'll see when I go from here, you'll see this is the top 6, and I just feel like this is where it kind of matters, where it gets kind of ooh, maybe any one of these teams could win the whole thing. I just don't see Uruguay getting past any of these guys. Number 6 is Germany. I know some people would put Germany higher. I think their performances have been great, but they're sort of in an awkward position where they have some good players in their youth, but I think it's going to take more years for this squad to get a little more years for this squad to get really solidified as something that I think can be more consistent. Germany used to be really, really consistent. Nowadays, I think it's in the like we're in the middle stage where we're working with different players and squad. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm not German, but you know what I mean. Like they're trying to work with this new-ish like squad and trying to create a different Germany that isn't like, it's not like the old Germany was bad. It's just like they're trying to like revamp, and it's working, but I just don't think it's World Cup level at this point. I mean, it is, but it's not like, you know, contender to actually get the whole thing. If they, like I said, if they have some luck, maybe, yeah. I just think the other ones, like I said, the other 5 on top of them are better, but they're still in the top 6, which I said, like, that's why I was like, maybe even top 6, because I was thinking of Germany. Okay, now number 5 is going to be the most controversial one. It's Portugal. Now, I know. Put your guns away for a second. All right, pitchforks and guns and torches can all come after the list is done. But I think Portugal is going to have some chemistry issues, possibly, because there's a certain person, I'm recording, there's a certain person that I think is... He might have some, like, I don't know. Basically, I don't mind Ronaldo, but I think based on his current mental state, I think he's, how do I put it? Based on his performance with the Euros and based on recent events, I think this squad's going to be in the same stage as Germany, but in a different way, where it's kind of needs to pass the torch along, but it's not there yet in the grand scheme of things for like current events. Like this current time, I think having to transition from the big man and focus more on, say, like Felix, for example. You got both the Silvas, they're cool. You know, you got pieces. Who else was I looking at? Fernandez. Actually, you know what? Silva's really old. No, this is Bernardo Silva. I was thinking different. That's Spanish. I don't even know why I was thinking about that one. Cancelo. You know, I mean, like they have some good, some really good players that still are like they're not even at their peak yet. I just think they could surprise me. But I don't. Based on how they've been performing and how their players have been doing it in terms of their own careers, I just wouldn't put them higher than this, which is 5th. I think they 100% deserve to be top 5. If you put them below top 5, that's a disgrace, to be 100% honest. But unless you have really good reasoning for it. If you actually want to go the other way, put it down in the comments. I'm really curious what your take would be on that. But yeah, I'm not going to put them higher than 5th. That's just my own list. That's how I think. And then I have France above them in 4th place. Now, France could be higher, but I think I'm not going to be delusional. I'm usually a France kind of... I go to either France or Brazil when it comes to the World Cup. I usually flip-flop, depends on what the year is. That might have been a spoiler. But France in this year, I don't know. I just think there's been a little bit of... I guess they're the returning champions, right? So there's just been a little bit of like, how do I put it? With the Euros and everything, I'm looking at it like I don't see in the past like 2 years the France we've had to be getting the World Cup for certain. So I'm gonna keep them here, which I think is fine. I think it makes sense. To put them in 4th seems fair. Seems fair to me. I'm not really going too in depth with it because their squad, I mean, you guys all know these names: Mbappe, Giroud, Benzema. I mean, I don't have to go into a Griezmann, Lloris, you know, Varane. I just, you know, we could be on and on. Conte for Saliba is a new guy. You know, as an Arsenal fan, I'm really excited to see him play on this stage. You know, international stage is really, really nice. But I don't think I need to go into it. I just feel like 4th is where I would put them. 4th is where I would put them, because who's above them I think have been doing more in terms of impressing me, and I have some hope in the other teams more. Argentina is 3rd. Now, if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said Argentina is barely top 5. But because of how they've been performing lately, I have to put them at top 3, dude. I'm not comfortable putting them higher than 3rd, but I'm just saying, like, I'm a Messi fan, but that's never been a bias in terms of you know, where I put Argentina. Like I said, You asked me more like 2 years ago, I would have put these guys on maybe like seventh or possibly sixth if I want to be optimistic. But now I think this is a squad that has experience. They know what they're doing. I think their manager has like a good leveled head for like being able to work with these players. So I'm assuming if it's the same manager in the same squad that they've been using for Copa America and all, the performance against Italy during I forgot what it's called, when the Euro champion versus the Copa America champion. I can't remember what that word's called. I'm so sorry for not remembering that. Don't shoot me. But my point is, the recent performances have been telling me that there's someone to really look out for, and I think they deserve top three. Even though I'm well aware that if you look at their squad compared to the other last three I mentioned, they may not look as fleshed out. Regardless, performance, I'm putting that over just, how many players can you recognize in the squad? It's like, that's not how football works, or soccer, whatever you want to call it. So they deserve top three. Second, however, now these top two, I'm putting them above them, and it's ironic because I think they've achieved less than Argentina recently, but their teams just get stronger and they keep getting more like threatening as time goes on. And number one and number two could kind of be interchangeable. And that's funny because number two is not usually a team that I would back that much. And that's England. England is number two for me because while they've failed a few times, last World Cup, last Euros, it's been kind of interesting to see like the team keeps getting stronger and they keep getting closer and closer. So for me, I'm not going to ignore the patterns, all right? Like, I think this squad knows what they're doing. I know a lot of English men and women. They have their opinions on their manager, Gareth Southgate, and everything. I don't care because that's English propaganda. As far as I'm concerned, that's them talking about their own stuff. I don't want that leaching into here because really I'm looking at it from an objective point of view. Your squad has been performing really consistently and well, and it just keeps getting stronger. So for me, you deserve top two. You could be number one, but I think there might be more selfishness in this squad than the next squad, which I think I wanted to put number one. And also, I may have some biases, so apologies if who's number one may not seem like they deserve it as much as number two or number three. But England, I'm going to put them in number two. I know some people may be like, no, England's overrated. It's like, kind of, yes, but I never cared about England. But I'm looking at this from a football fan point of view, and I'm like, you should watch out for England. Like, really watch out for England. No matter how you think about the national team, like what you think about them, I think they deserve to be number two. At least top three. I think if you're putting them below than that, it's kind of petty and you're not really looking at it from an analytical point of view. Number one, though, that's where things get kind of spicy. Number one, I'm going to put as Brazil. Mostly because, like I said, it's spicy. It's spicy. I mean, they've got some players that I don't even want to really like just talk about. Oh, it's Brazil. Of course, you're going to pick Brazil. To be very clear, guys, we're talking about a squad that they could have won Copa America. And also, this is before they had Vinicius Jr. just win honestly could have been MVP of the finals for the UEFA Championship finals. Gabriel Jesus, who is playing for my club right now, Arsenal, and he's been doing nuts. He has a new role for leadership and everything, and it's like I'm looking at this squad and I can't help but think, wow, this is obviously you have Neymar, sure, Richarlison. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. There's just, my point is, even before I talked about those players and what they've achieved recently, this squad, I mean, you have Ederson, Alisson, you have both of them. It's disgusting. Like, they're keepers. I didn't even consider the keepers. Guys, even if Brazil wasn't consistent, its squad is still scary. But the fact that their players have been consistent at achieving things, and as a national team, they've gone really far recently. Guys, it's just, I don't know. I feel like, for me, I get more hyped about it. That's why I said it might be biased, because I think England has been more consistent, more or less. But I think their players, I don't know. Like, yeah, you have Kane. Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, they're not like, you know what I mean? They haven't really got to the top echelon of football in general. So for me, I just think Brazil needs to be number one. But I know it's cliche. It's kind of like, oh, another guy that's putting Brazil number one, most likely to win the whole thing. But I think you have to be smart about this. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna like avoid the obvious. I'm not trying to be a contrarian here. I'm just putting out what I think. So I mean, that's the list. If you had any troubles where I put something, or you want to make your own list, put it down below. But if you like stuff like this in terms of football content, another thing you could do is like the video and subscribe to support videos like this being put on the channel, because I do other things, but they're not stuff like this. And I don't know if you like me talking about this stuff, or you like this kind of perspective on football. I'll try to come up with more content with it. Obviously, with the World Cup, it's really easy. Outside of that, I'll try to make more predictions for other things relating to like leagues, like different football leagues, most likely the European leagues. And yeah, I don't know. I just love the sport. I love the sport. I don't mind talking about it. I know some people get really heated about their own opinions, but that's totally fine with me. As long as you understand that, like, if I think you're wrong, then you ain't gonna change my mind very easily. And the same thing goes for me when I think about you guys. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm obviously a genius and here's why you're wrong, and I'm definitely changed your opinion here. It's like, if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. And this is just like some insight, especially for people that don't really know this sport very well, because I'm Canadian. I know a lot of people that don't really get this. And if this helps you in a lot of ways to enjoy the sport more and maybe kind of understand like what to look out for, then I think I'm happy to post that kind of video, because it makes someone more interested in the sport that I really appreciate. But yeah, with all that talking aside, I'm excited. We are with the group stages that just started. I'm already predicting who's going to win the whole thing, but I'm really excited to see how this all turns out. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to see it. Like I said, I'll probably do another top 10 later on, which will be like kits, probably. Like, I know it's not as interesting, but like, what's I mean, like, if you want to buy some football shirts now, like, what do you think is the most stylish? Like, don't you want to know my subjective opinion? But yeah, I'm probably, once the group stages are done, I'm right away gonna try and post the knockout stages, the knockout predictions. So that one's gonna get spicy, because that is worse than this. At least with this, I can broadly say, oh, this one has a higher chance, this one has a higher chance. When I'm actually making the group stage bracket, the knockout stage bracket, it's terrifying, because then I could be completely wrong with the final four. Like, I could find out I'm dead wrong like very early on, which happened with the Euros, kind of. I was getting kind of close, and then it just all fell apart with France and everything, which might be why France is fourth. I put him fourth, right? Yeah, fourth. So I might have a little bit of like vendetta for some of these teams, because I've maybe rooted for them before and they failed me. So I mean, this is a guy that has like some experience with stuff like this. So that's also something to consider with my list. If this is your first time doing something like this, just be well aware. Some teams are gonna fail you along the way. So that's why I'm like, if you're gonna bet, do it cautiously. Anyways, all that fun aside, I'll catch you guys later in the next football video. Take care, peace, and goodbye.